Well, good morning. Thank you for having us, Good Business Colorado, and thank you to all of those sponsors. And thank you for those of you joining us this morning. I noticed that we have somebody that deals with food, which I'm looking at you, Carolyn, according to what was posted on Huva. I hope that the stuff that we talk about in terms of composting and food recovery speaks to what you're doing in your business world. And Megan, I know you are in the climate action space, and that is also something that's very directly related to the work we're doing with Recycle Colorado. Our name is Recycle Colorado, but we really are aiming for a circular economy in Colorado. We chose a few years ago to land on the word recycle because we felt that was more familiar than the word circular. But our mission, as we'll talk about here in a moment, is really based on focusing on getting materials to stay in Colorado, making that an environmental and economic benefit for everyone that lives in the state. So if you want to go to the next slide, Allie, thank you. What we'll talk about today is who are we and what do we do? Then we want to spend a little bit of time on why businesses might be interested in getting involved with Recycle Colorado or participating in some of the events that we host because we think that businesses can benefit. And then the thing that we get the most questions about are legislative activities. And there have been quite a few in the last couple of years. So we're going to spend a little time and give you the opportunity to ask questions about some upcoming legislation that might impact your business. And then we'll conclude by talking about what the resources are that we can offer as an organization. And I am Liz Chapman, Executive Director. We're getting a bit of a late start, so I don't want to spend too much time on this. But one of the things I will say connected me to Recycle Colorado, as I was speaking about previously, is I volunteered with the Division of Wildlife before they were the Division of Wildlife. They were CPW. And I was working with residents to get them to keep their waste safe from bears. And in that experience, I realized that people had a lot of misconceptions about waste. People weren't recycling to the degree that they could be recycling, and they misunderstood what the economic benefits were to segregating organics and recycled materials. So from that experience, I decided to focus my thesis work on working with people in Glenwood Springs. I did a research action project to get them to recycle and compost more of their material, which led me eventually to lead Recycle Colorado. I've only been in this position for a year and a half, but I am very excited about the direction the organization is going, and I'm really happy to be here today with my colleague, Allie Byzewski.
Hi, everyone. Allie Byzewski, as Liz just said. I'm the operations coordinator with Recycle Colorado. So a little story about us. You can get to know where we were and where we are now. So if you can tell, I'm pretty young. And I graduated from the University of North Dakota about 3 years ago now. And when I was going to school, it was during COVID. So I was one of those COVID graduates, and it was kind of sad, but I got to do college wherever I wanted, which was pretty cool. And I did my degree in environmental studies with minor in nonprofit leadership. And so a lot of my schoolwork was, hey, look, climate change is really, really bad. What are we going to do? Hey, look, our water systems and our environment are degrading. How do we fix it? That's your problem. And so it was this huge weight on me coming from this younger generation that is being handed down all these environmental issues and how to fix them. We need solutions. And so one of the ways that I saw a way to address these environmental issues and to help solve them was through nonprofit work. And so upon graduating, I applied to Recycle Colorado. Thought I would dip my toes in the nonprofit world, see what it's all about. I'd been recycling for most of my life, and so I thought I knew quite a bit about it. And about 2 months into my employment with Recycle Colorado, I became the only staff member, and I had to take on almost all of the operations with the support of our amazing board. So not only did I dip my toes in, I kind of dove head first and learned quite a bit. And that was challenging, but I love a good challenge. I learned so much, and I was very appreciative for that time. And so once we kind of got our feet under ourselves and we're like, all right, now we need an executive director to help lead us and get us through this and help expand recycling resources and education in Colorado, because that's our goal. And so we needed someone who really understood recycling, because it is a super complex issue. There's a lot of moving parts with it. It's different everywhere, every city, county, state, country. And so in the search for someone, we found Liz. And Liz has schooled us all in her recycling knowledge. And I think my brain has expanded like 10 times with recycling knowledge with the help of Liz. And so I'll let her take it from here to talk about our growth and where we're going as an organization.
Oh, thank you so much, Allie. It has been a delight to join the team and work with someone as talented and passionate as yourself. We have had great success. When I joined Recycle Colorado, the board of directors had been functioning as the executive director, and along with some work from other groups like EcoCycle, the Colorado Municipal League, the Colorado Beverage Association, we passed the producer responsibility legislation, which is going to be the first producer responsibility legislation enacted in the United States. So we're very excited about that. And then this last year, we passed a bill about organics. So the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment published an organics management plan in 2022. And in 2022, it said we should expand organics collection and expand composting across the state, but it didn't drill down into exactly how we would do that. So we got a bill and some money to the department this year. And in 2024, they're going to drill down and find out exactly how can we make compost diversion more accessible and financially affordable for communities all across Colorado. So we're really excited about that. Our membership has grown by leaps and bounds because we're the first in the nation to do the producer responsibility. We're getting some membership from really big name companies, and I'll talk more about those specifics later. And we are also expanding our activities in terms of the kinds of councils and roundtables that we're working on to get wide stakeholder input. That's one of the things that Recycle Colorado really prides itself on, is making sure that we have a diverse membership. And thank you so much, Angelique. Our rural neighbors very much rely on the work of Recycle Colorado. Oh, yes, and Good Business Colorado is also part of the coalition that made producer responsibility happen. Thank you for that work on that. And our rural members struggle the most financially to make waste diversion and waste capture a reality, because the economics of landfilling are just so much cheaper than the economics of waste capture. So we are working hard to support those. And that's a big reason why the producer responsibility program is going to be such a benefit to everyone in Colorado, especially in our disadvantaged communities. And with that, I will ask Allie to share a slide and talk a little bit about our membership.
Thanks, Liz. Recycle Colorado. We are a 501c3 statewide nonprofit. And so, like Liz just alluded to, not only do we support our members and organizations and local governments on the Front Range, which would be Fort Collins, Denver, Colorado Springs, everything on the east side of the mountains. We support our mountain regions as well as our Western Slope regions and Eastern Plains regions, the whole state. So wherever we're needed, Liz and I can get to help support, do meetings, talk about resources and educational efforts. We're there for everyone in the state of Colorado. Our mission is to advance infrastructure and markets and state and local policies in waste reduction, recovery, and diversion. One of the reasons why I really like Recycle Colorado, and I think it's a really good, well-rounded nonprofit, is because with recycling, we have recyclers that you typically think of, people who come and collect your trash, they sort it, they process it. But then the other piece of that is, I'm sorry, I said trash recycling, the collector recycling. But the other piece of that is the people who make that initial product. And so we like to call those the producers, or non-recycling businesses. And so Recycle Colorado, we really try to bring together both of those pieces to understand the whole system. And that's how we accomplish our mission. We pass policy that helps to address, recycling, but how do we make the materials that are getting recycled, how do we get those to be a better product initially so it can get back into the system, recirculated a lot easier? And so we are a membership-based nonprofit. And so we have about 170 members as part of our nonprofit. And there we go. And this is kind of our piece of the pie. Everyone gets a piece. And mainly, like I said, we have recyclers. And then that other big chunk is non-recycling businesses. So those are the producers. So for example, Coca-Cola, they make that plastic bottle that goes into the recycling bin. But we want to talk with them about how do we make that plastic bottle better from the start. Same with Ball. They make aluminum cans. How do we make that aluminum can better so it can be infinitely recyclable? And another big chunk of our nonprofit membership is local government. And so we work with all the sustainability coordinators, public works departments, landfill operators across the state to try to make sure the whole system everyone's working together, everyone's communicating with each other to help make this a more efficient process.
And some of the activities that Recycle Colorado engages in can be seen in this photo. And the reason I chose this photo collage is what we hear from our members again and again are the networking opportunities that we offer, especially business to business, government to business, hauler to producer, as Allie was just describing. We get told again and again that that's the value that our members find in being part of Recycle Colorado. So one of the things that you can see we do here is we do tours. Several of these pictures show groups of our members touring either a recycling facility or a production facility. And that varies from a municipal facility like you would find in Denver or a rural facility like you can see. The picture of us in front of the white truck is a nonprofit down in La Junta, Colorado, that has benefited greatly from some of the policies and programs that Recycle Colorado has advanced. And we also provide 2 in-person events a year at a minimum. We try to have more than that, but at a minimum, we have an annual meeting and we have a summit conference. We have a summit for recycling, and that's with the picture of everybody sat in a circle doing a round table talking about circular economies and what can we do to advance them. And then another piece of what we do is advocate for policies that make the capture of waste materials and the remanufacture and processing of those materials into valuable goods a reality and a financial possibility, especially, like I said before, for our rural and disadvantaged communities. And that's the picture of me testifying before a Senate commission here. So we do in-person meetings, we do virtual meetings, we try to have lots of resources. We have a biweekly newsletter that goes out. We've got councils and committees, which we'll talk more about if you'll go to the next slide, Allie. The councils and committees are where we really get the most regular interaction between our members. We've got currently 5 different committees, 2 of which are geographically based, Northern Colorado and the Western Slope, and then 3 of which are subject matter based. So we've got the Compost Council, which is also a chapter of the U.S. Composting Council. C&D stands for construction and deconstruction. We are trying to change the language from construction and demolition to be construction and deconstruction. We're trying to move that particular industry, which produces a lot of waste, to more of a mindset of circularity and recirculation and capturing the value in those buildings as they come down. And then we have a policy committee, which is the committee that gets the most press. That's the one that most of the people if they've ever heard of Recycle Colorado, it's usually they've heard about us because of our involvement on the policy front. But as I showed in the picture before, policy is just one piece of the three-legged stool of the things that we do in terms of providing networking opportunities and providing resources to help address these issues. And there's a subcommittee within the policy committee called the Rural Policy Committee to make sure that any policies Recycle Colorado is advocating for or involved in are also beneficial to our rural component, and we're not overly emphasizing the Front Range. So that is our councils and committee. And then the next slide, I think, is back to you, Allie.
Thanks, Liz. And so another big piece of our nonprofit is how we help businesses benefit. So on the bottom there, you'll see the list of our members, which most of which are big businesses, or I guess we don't have our municipal members on there, but we have a lot of other local governments that are involved. And so one of the big pieces of our nonprofit is those events. Like we said, we have a conference and an annual meeting, as well as those councils and committees that you just saw. And those are what provide a lot of networking opportunities. And so we have, as you'll see on the right there, that is our business showcase, where businesses every year can come to our summit. And if they have a recycling solution, or they just want to get out there and see what the solutions are, you can have a booth or go up to these booths and talk with these different businesses and see what they can provide for you. They range from anywhere like recycling and composting equipment, or on the bottom there's John. He has a book and he's done lots of research on, maybe Liz, help me out here because I missed his presentation, but I believe it's about...
It's all about how we can model our economy after regenerative systems in nature. And so his book is some practical ideas for how we move to a circular economy and away from what we call a linear economy, meaning we dig stuff out of the ground, we use it in a product, and then we bury it back in the ground. The circular economy idea is we dig stuff out of the ground, we use it, and then we remanufacture it into something and we use it again. And then we remanufacture it into something and use it again. And we minimize the amount of material that we have to bury back in the ground in landfills.
Awesome. Thanks, Liz. And so we really try to facilitate a lot of networking and interaction between the businesses that do attend and the attendees at our events. And so we do a lot of icebreakers or little activities. And from what we've overheard from a lot of folks is like, wow, I've been really looking for someone like you to help my business. And it kind of fills our heart that what we're doing really helps connect businesses to other businesses. And so another piece of this benefit to businesses is showcasing businesses and amplifying their waste diversion efforts. One way that we do this is every year we have America Recycles Day, which is November 15th, and Colorado proclaimed Colorado Recycles Week to be the week of November 15th when America Recycles Day is. And so what we do is we try to reach out to all of our members and just ask, hey, what did you do this year that was beneficial to the environment, sustainability, recycling, composting, your community itself? And we like to post all those efforts on our social media to kind of amplify what they're doing, because a lot of the work in recycling is dirty and behind the scenes, and you don't hear a lot about it. You know, it's not on the front page, it's kind of on the back, and you don't hear about it. And so there's a lot of people out there that we work with, and we want to really amplify what they're doing with our social media network and our network as far as a newsletter goes. We also share it out on there. So that's kind of one of the way we showcase businesses. But we also ask them to be leaders in our councils and committees, to testify during legislative sessions. And that's one way they can say, hey, I'm here and I work for this business, but I support this. And you're really showing what you support as a business and what your goals are, and putting it to the test by testifying or, getting out there and leading a group of people. They really see that your business is taking initiative. The last piece of this is connecting businesses to other businesses. And so, we have these networking events. They're in person. Some of them are virtual. You see people just like this, how we're talking. But obviously, I'm not going to point out to Megan and say, Megan, how can you help me? Or Carolyn, how can you help me? When we're on a Zoom meeting. And so what Liz and I really try to do is offline, we can connect you if let's say you're trying to get composting in your city or county, but you don't know where to start. You don't know where to look. We can connect you or your business, with a composting provider and say, look, these are the people who are in your area, because we're kind of the experts in Colorado. Not fully, but we try to be. We have a lot of connections ourselves. And so we want to use our connections to help you and your business to meet your needs, to find composting, to find recycling, to help you get rid of something that you have excess of. Let's say you have a large amount of newspapers and you don't know where to bring them. We had someone reach out to us recently and said, hey, I really want newspapers to use them in my packaging. And so we really try to make those connections and constantly are communicating with other businesses and whatnot. Anything else, Liz?
No, that's great.
Okay, cool. Just gotta check. So one of the things Liz touched on is policy is one of the biggest things that we work on, and that definitely affects businesses in Colorado. So the Plastic Pollution Reduction Act is one of those policies that we passed in 2021. It was House Bill 21-1159. So what this did was create a fee on single-use bags. So that is both a plastic bag and a paper bag. That is a 10-cent fee, but I believe cities and counties can choose to make that more, not less, only more. But a portion of that is split 60-40. So part of that money that is collected off of these fees goes back to support waste diversion efforts for the city or county that this fee is collected in, and then the other part of that goes back to the retailer who the fee was. So let's say Target. Let's give an example, so that's a little bit easier. In Target, you go to buy your groceries and you get a plastic bag. So part of that goes to the fee on that bag, part of it goes to the city, and part of it goes back to Target to use that to either, make their operations more sustainable, buy more reusable bags so that those can get out to the communities there. So that's kind of the first piece of this legislation. As you'll see there on the bottom, there's a timeline. And so eventually where we're going to get to this next year is completely banning the use of the plastic bags. So this first part allowed businesses to kind of use up all the plastic and paper bags that they do have, but hopefully we're going to eliminate those this next year. And then the second piece will come online, and this will mainly affect a lot more restaurants that do use styrofoam takeout containers. And so those will be banned within this next year. And so that's a big piece, but a way that we help support businesses throughout this. I mean, we passed this policy. We're not just going to figure it out, hands off. We like to work with EcoCycle, who's a really important nonprofit that does a lot of resource and educational efforts, along with a lot of the municipalities. So this is that pulling together other nonprofits, businesses, and municipalities to create education. And so we created a toolkit, and that helps businesses implement this. We have, they're called, I'm going to forget what they're called, but they're little tags that you can put on your shelves that kind of is a little reminder to your customers, like, hey, plastic bags are no longer going to be given out at our store. Please make sure you bring your reusable bags. And when that fee was happening, it explained that there's a fee and why. And so that really addressed that. People will get angry, but as long as you educate them and you say, look, here's what's happening, this toolkit kind of helped remediate that.
And we've been talking for 30 minutes. So before I launch into the next topic, I wanted to pause for a moment and see if you all had any questions.
I'm just digging everything you're saying. I really am. I'm just getting very, very excited over here. And because I know I have some ideas for my business, because I really want it to be, I won't say green, but, sort of lime. Yeah.
Lime.
As much as we can.
Carolyn, I know you're in the food industry. Could you say a
Yes.
little bit more about what you're doing and what kind of ideas you have? And maybe we can immediately start to connect you with some resources to help.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So the name of my business is the Progressive Pantry, and we really are about conscious consumerism, shortening the food chain. Um, just making sure that we are, and also the circular economy and collaboration, trying to keep things as close to home as possible. So we offer right now spices that are single origin, but some of them are. Um, sort of produced regeneratively. That's a really hard word.
That is
And
a very
it's really
hard
regeneratively.
word.
And so I want to, also always partner with other companies that are doing good for the either community, environment, things like that. One of my big ideas, which is why I booted the other group, and I said, I gotta go to talk to these ladies. Is that I want to do aprons that are made from recycled either jeans or material, and connect with the African Center because they have a whole sewing program. So it's kind of like, again, circular, keep it close, support community, and create a mission-driven product. So that's just one thing. Also, like we're at the farmers market, we give out a lot of paper bags. So are there paper bags that are better? I mean, we just got these off of Amazon. So are there better sources locally for us? Because we're at several what do you call them, farmers markets. That's that's a lot of bags. So can we do better? Sampling cups. I mean, right now I'm using pill cups. I think they're paper, but the information on the website doesn't give you 100% of, like, it doesn't say 100% paper. So looking for, I think we just grabbed the best option available, but looking for better options. Because again, sample cups and paper bags and new products coming through would be really, really lovely. And of course, working with everything local would be just hot, so hot. So for me.
That is fantastic. Thank you for recognizing the importance of working with agricultural producers that are focused on regenerative agricultural practices. That is a huge component of sustainability, and that's a big thing you can do as a business, is to drive that market to dominate rather than the unregenerative practices that have dominated the market for so long. The African Center is a place that I'm not familiar with. We do work with an organization called Mile High Workshop, and what they specialize in is making things out of recycled content.
So, even hotter. Oh my God.
Yeah,
yes.
And I think there might be a connection there to make between the three organizations. You as a customer looking for aprons. Allie's holding up a bag made by the Mile High Workshop, made from a recycled banner.
I love it. I don't see it, but okay.
So I think that would be worth a conversation. Mile High Workshop also works on training people that have difficulty getting employed in the skill of sewing and that craft. But it sounds like that's similar to what the African Center does. Is that correct?
They work with the immigrants and teach them how to sew. They get the bulk of the profits from the sale of the product they create, which I am totally okay with. Because we're selling other stuff, but we want to make sure that every aspect, as much as possible, every aspect of our business reaches and touches some other part of the community here in a positive way. Looking people, environment, all of that. So, I mean, I don't know how much green, gas emissions we're, but but also the shipping of products. We're shipping shorter. If you could buy stuff right here in state, we can dismiss with all of the trucking and all of that. So it's kind of pulling it all together, and listening to you all really helps a lot to like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So
I think that there's a connection that we could make there with the Mile High Workshop, because they specialize in making materials out of banners.
yes.
But given what you're looking for in terms of an apron, I don't know that material would be suitable.
No.
However, we know that they get donations of a lot of material that they do not desire, and some of that is textiles. So it might be a situation where the Mile High Workshop could supply the African Center with the recovered material that would otherwise be landfilled, and then the African Center can sew the aprons that you can then buy and sell. So we might be able to involve all three. In terms of your question about the paper bag sourcing, most paper bags at this moment in time are at least 50% post-consumer recycled product. So that buying paper bags in and of itself you're relatively assured that that's a good choice to make.
Okay.
But you can dig in a little bit and look for the letters PCR, which stands for post-consumer recovery. No, PC. Oh, that's resin. So that's plastic. Sorry. Post-consumer content, which would be PCC for paper. And they will say how much of their paper is made out of recycled, how much of their paper bags are recycled content. Yeah. And then the sampling cups, another connection that we can make with one of our members is a company that's located in Colorado called Eco Products. And they specialize in manufacturing all kinds of food serviceware that's very environmentally responsible and environmentally sound. And it's a Colorado company. So beautiful. In your Whova app, is there a way for us to follow up on this in the Whova app?
I can make sure that there is.
Or you're welcome. We've got our contact information. You're welcome to send an email to info@recyclecolorado.org. And I'm going to follow you guys. I'm totally going to follow you. Make sure. Thank you so much, Allie. You're welcome. I think there are two things we can do right away to help you move to some of those sustainable practices relative. Some support. So thank you.
And it's not just the aprons. I mean, you talked about all this newspaper. I was like, can that be turned into a bag? Because I'm at the farmer's market. People want bags. I see people with bags. So, just putting the idea out there that there's this, sort of recycled option. So it's just, again, long range stuff. Thank you so much, Liz. I don't want to take up too much time.
Hey, that is the point of doing this activity. So not a problem. All right. Well, then we will keep going with the presentation, and maybe you'll have even more questions, Carolyn. Though one of the big things that happened in 2022. So I think I mistyped on here. The plastic bag happened in 2021, and the Circular Economy Development Center happened in 2022. So I made an error on this slide. Anyway, it was a bill that Recycle Colorado championed to establish what is called the Circular Economy Development Center. And the Circular Economy Development Center has two main missions. One is to improve existing markets. So as an example, what we have right now in Colorado is we have what we would refer to as a closed loop glass. So if you look at the diagram that we have on the slide, you see that it says raw material. So we'll say sand is our raw material for glass. It goes into production, and then it's distributed to consumers. Consumers consume what's inside of the glass, and then they dispose of it. And in an ideal world, when they dispose of that glass container, they would put it into a recycling bin, and then it would get put back into production. Unfortunately, what happens in Colorado is 80% of the glass that gets put on the shelf for consumers to use gets put into the trash and then landfilled. So we recover less than 20% of the glass that we put out for sale, even though we have a glass processing facility here in Colorado that not only wants the glass to improve their sustainability goals in terms of they're using a recycled content material, but it also saves energy. It has a dramatic climate impact because the furnaces have to burn a lot hotter when they use sand to make glass than when they use glass to make glass. They can run their furnaces at a much lower temperature, which in turn saves energy, which in turn reduces the greenhouse gas emissions by that process, and less trucking, as you just mentioned, Carolyn. We have to truck all that sand in. We don't know if you've noticed, but no beaches in Colorado, turns out. We're not a beach-heavy state. The glass is not a closed loop. It has the potential to be a closed loop in Colorado, but it's not a closed loop. And the Circular Economy Development Center, that's one of the markets that they're looking at improving the capture of materials so that that becomes much closer to an 80% recovery rate rather than the current 16% recovery rate. The other mission that the Circular Economy Development Center has is they are tasked with establishing new markets for material that can be recovered. For example, asphalt shingles. When you get hail damage on your roof in Colorado, you have to replace it. What happens to all those asphalt shingles? They primarily get landfilled. Well, we would like to see that change because there's valuable material and technology available to recycle those. And I see that we're getting close to time. So if you will go to the next slide, Allie. This is just a brief sampling of the kind of businesses that are working with the Circular Economy Development Center. And as you can see, this spread of businesses is even bigger than the spread of businesses Recycle Colorado works with, because we're working with manufacturers, working with the transport industry to try and touch on all the elements that it's going to take to build up a truly circular economy in Colorado. And you can go to the next slide. That is just repeating their goals, expand markets that already exist, and then create new markets for materials that are currently going to landfill. And then we'll move on to the Producer Responsibility Program. In short form, what this program is going to do is it is the polluters pay principle. The idea is all of those producers like Nestle, Unilever, Coke that make products that go onto the shelves will pay a small fee per product that goes on the shelves, and that will in turn pay for recycling for all of Colorado's residents. So the cost for recycling will be taken off of municipalities, counties, and consumers, and the burden of that fee, the burden of those costs will be placed on the people or the companies, the brand owners that are making those products. You can go to the next slide, Allie. This is just repeats in more detail what I just said, that the brands will pay dues. They will pay the dues into an entity called a Producer Responsibility Organization. That organization is a nonprofit that will work with the state to make sure that all the fees that they collect are redistributed throughout the state to pay private companies and governments for recycling. And as you can see, beginning in 2028, this program may expand to include businesses, schools, and government buildings. What it will not do is cover specialty recycling like electronics or construction waste, and it will also not pay for trash services. This will be limited to the consumer packaging that most of us buy and use and discard. You can go to the next slide, Allie. This is an example of, or this is a brief snapshot of the founding producers that have already put money into Colorado's PRO. Colorado selected the Circular Action Alliance to serve as the producer responsibility organization in Colorado. And even though that organization has not started to collect fees, all of the national brands and international brands that you see on this slide have already committed thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars to make that PRO organization function and have staff, and they're already on the ground running, even though they haven't collected any fees yet. You can go to the next slide. So this is a brief slide that in the interest of time, I'm going to gloss over, but it is a timeline that says the producers will join the PRO, they pay dues, the PRO comes up with a plan in conjunction with the advisory board and the state. Then it administers that plan under the supervision of the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, CDPHE. So they have regulatory oversight, and they are also advised by an advisory board that makes sure that what they're doing is in the interest of all the businesses involved in this process. You can go to the next slide, Allie, and I'll let you finish it up with our additional resources.
Awesome. Thanks, Liz. So 2 other programs that are really helpful here in Colorado for getting education and resources out to our recyclers in the state. The first one is the Recycling Resources Economic Opportunity Program. That is a mouthful, so we just say the RREO program. This is a grant program for recyclers across the state that they can participate in and apply for. There's 2 pieces to this. So there is the grant program, which I just mentioned. And so if you need anything from a baler to a forklift to a tractor, you can apply and they will give you the funding to do that and get that new tractor or forklift, whatever it may be. Carolyn, I'm sure in your case, well, I don't know, you could maybe make the case that you need a new sewing machine to make these new aprons out of scrapped or reusable material. And so you could apply and get a sewing machine, for example, for a business or organization. And the other piece of this is a rebate program. And so when a recycler has a drop-off facility that they are operating mostly in the rural regions, they can apply for this rebate program, which is, thank you for doing what you do as far as recycling. Here's some money to support that and continue that. And I'm going to skip over next cycle. It's kind of a showcase event for a lot of our members who are up and coming startups. And so that's a good way for them to get their name out there. The Front Range Waste Diversion Grant Program, or Forward, is another one of those grant opportunity programs like RREO, but is specifically for recyclers and composters and whoever it may be in the Front Range area only. Another big resources that is rolling out here in Denver is the Pay As You Throw program, as well as in Summit County of Colorado. So it's kind of Keystone, Breckenridge, whatnot. And so that, as you see on the bottom there, instead of limiting you to paying for your recycling, it is now going to limit how much you pay each month based on the size of your trash cart. So you can see there, if you're going to get a recycling cart, a compost cart, and then you get to pick the size of your trash cart. And so if you're really good at diverting your waste and you don't have not a lot of trash each month, you can pick the smallest cart and pay less for your waste. Next resource we have is the Recycle Partnership, who we work with a lot, and we recommend a lot to a lot of our members or people who are looking for resources for recycling, composting, whatever it may be. And so they have a recycle cart grant, which we recommend to a lot of people who are wondering, how do I get my start? Maybe I want to do this recycle program, but it's expensive. Where do I get a cart? You can apply for a grant and get carts. So they make it easy for you. They also have a lot of really, go ahead.
Allie, Angelique is telling us that we're out of time.
Oh, okay.
So can you go to the very last slide? Thank you. Thank you so much. I apologize for cutting you off, but I recognize that we're out of time. I want to respect that for everybody. Carolyn, please email us and we will follow up with you and connect you. And thank you, Angelique, for having us at your conference. And we look forward to learning more from other businesses.